How did it take me 10 years to figure out this smoking hack in a Kamado Joe or Big Green Egg style Kamado grill? Well, today I'm going to share it with you. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and I can't believe it took 10 years to discover this. But over the last year, I've been on a real quest to improve the quality of the smoke that I'm getting inside my Kamado Joe. But in one of my videos, a member asked, hey James, why don't we try loading some smoking wood into the ash drawer? And I have been blown away by the results on this because it allows us to do a couple things. One, we can easily add smoking wood mid-cook, no problem. We can add in other things like aromatics, little bundled up herbs, and drop that right into the bottom ash drawer. And we have complete control on how much and how often we are smoking. And because of the design of the Kamado Joe, at least the Series 3, which comes with a charcoal basket, we have ample hot coals as they break down into really, really small burning embers falling into our ash tool, which is the perfect the perfect smoke loading drawer in this case, which is turning those smoking wood chunks into little chips of charcoal by the time we are all said and done. So to put these two theories head to head, I have picked up two identical ribeye grilling steaks, and I'm going to cook one the old way where I put my smoking wood on the bottom, and another one where we do our smoking wood chips in the ash drawer, and see if we can actually taste an improved benefit from smoking really nice clean smoke using this technique, and or if the only benefit of this technique is getting the ability to add smoke mid-cook without having to remove everything that we have in our grill. Either way, it's a win-win, but I'm really curious to see if there's going to be a noticeable taste difference. Let's get started. So since these are fresh from the store, the first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of rub on them. And since I haven't had time to do my normal dry brine, I'm just going to hit them with some Terry Black's beef rub, as that will not do too much to mask our smoking flavor, yet will go really great with that. I'll take you fast forward while we season these up on both sides. Okay, we've got our rub on, so just before I clean up, I'll take the opportunity now to install our meter probes. And so I'm just going to insert this right to the line here in each steak, and we'll set our app up to track today's cook once we've got our grills up to temperature. All right, those look good. Let's go clean up and fire up our grills. All right, so we are starting with our Kamado Joe Classic 3. And so since the wood chips that I have are apple, I'm going to use apple chunks to keep everything the same. So we're using apple for both. The only difference will be chunks versus the chips in the ash drawer. Piled up those pieces of charcoal on top of the wood, so we're about a 95% charcoal to wood ratio. So now what I'm going to do is just grab my Grill Blazer grill gun and start a nice hot fire right in the center. I'm using Fogo today since, again, even though we're smoking these steaks, it's easy to over smoke something like steak or poultry. Our family doesn't love a ton of smoke, and since this is a smoking experiment, I don't want to overdo it with the charcoal. So let's get our Fogo fired up. Okay, so these coals have ashed over white, already giving off some good heat. So for the time being, I'm just going to drop in the base portion of our SloRoller. Bottom vent is all the way open. We'll close our dome and let our top vent all the way open. Okay, so our Big Joe is now reading just over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Our Classic is only at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So I want to take a quick minute to remind you, always do the hand test. If this was 400 degrees, I would not be sitting here very, very comfortably, hardly feeling any heat. And so often what happens is if you rush to install the top of your SloRoller or your deflector plates, you're not getting the heat in the dome that we need. And so you might throw your food on when your grill is still coming up to temperature. And often how this shows up is your grill will be stable for what looks like an hour or two, and all of a sudden the temperature spikes. And what's happening then is the grill has finally caught up to the temperature it's supposed to be at, and now your vent settings are allowing more air, which is driving your temperature up. So don't be fooled by false information. What's happening here is a flame is likely coming up. There we go, you can see down in there. So a flame is coming up right underneath the thermometer and is giving that a false positive reading. So we are going to wait a little bit longer. Even though it says it's over 400 degrees, I am not at all concerned. And I'm going to wait till this actually starts to feel like it's hot before worrying about adjusting my vents or installing anything else. I'll rejoin you in a few more minutes. Our Kamado Joe Classic 3 on the other hand, this is starting to feel close to what 300 degrees, which is what our dome is reading, should feel like. And so now that I'm confident that the ceramic is evenly heat soaked all the way around, I'm going to install the top portion of our SloRoller. Then I'm going to install the divide and conquer rack. And really quickly, I pointed this out in one or two other videos, but I get asked all the time. In the Kamado Joe Classic, if you want to use a drip pan, you have the choice of all three sizes of smokeware. The small one will just barely fit in the X accessory ring. The 12-inch one is almost identical to the SloRoller size. It sits nicely on top. And then the large one is the 14-inch size, and you can use that in the Kamado Joe Classic or the Big Joe. And now I'll just install the cooking grates, close the dome, and I'm going to adjust the bottom vent down to 1 finger's width, close the top vent, but put it all the way on the 4th line so it's maximum airflow position without being sort of swung wide open, and wait till the grill temperatures start to recover. Once I get close to about 250, 270 degrees, I want to start slowing down the forward momentum of the grill to land exactly on about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what I want to reverse sear our ribeye steaks on today. This is a lot like accelerating onto the highway with your car. If you want to end up at 70 miles an hour, you don't hold the pedal all the way down right till 70, because when you let off, you're going to shoot past your target temperature. At the same time, you don't want to let off at 40 and you'll never reach highway speeds either. And so I found about the right balance is to start throttling back somewhere in that 30 to 50 degree Fahrenheit range. So we'll start just working our dial ever so slightly towards its final resting position. And for about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, that should be just past the first line by about 1/4 of an inch on both the Classic and the Big Joe's control tower top. I'll rejoin you in a couple minutes when it's time to get our steaks on. Okay, both grills are now at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. It's time to get our steaks on, but before we do, we need to add our smoking wood chips, our apple chips, into the bottom ash drawer of the Big Joe so they can start putting off some smoke. So I'll be bringing you nice and close, show you that process, as well as throwing our steaks on the grills. Before continuing, I want to take a minute to thank HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Whether I'm recording or editing, sometimes the day has gotten away from me completely, much like can happen this time of year. Holidays are hectic, but HelloFresh keeps things simple with recipes, ingredients that cut the grocery shopping out of your routine so you can spend more time enjoying the festivities and the company of your friends and family. I know from sharing my series last year that there was a ton of interest in my goals of eating better, but not sacrificing our love for cooking and grilling outdoors. And this is where HelloFresh helps keep things simple with great meal planning. Whether you're looking something that's made for the family, calorie-wise, veggie options, these are all packaged and delivered out weekly using fresh produce directly from farmers. HelloFresh offers a wide variety of quick and easy meals, including 20-minute meals like the one my family will be enjoying tonight, which is a spicy cheese beef quesadilla recipe. So this gives me more time to enjoy my family and get back to editing this video instead of being stuck at the grocery store trying to remember, did I need 1 or 2 poblano peppers? That's another benefit. HelloFresh has done a study and found that their pre-planned meals help reduce food waste by over 25%. Go to HelloFresh.com and enter code SDBarbecue14 to receive up to 14 free meals as well as 3 free gifts. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the action. Okay, so let's open up our draft door for a minute. We pull this out, you can see we're getting some hot coal starting to fall down between our baskets. So this is what's going to ignite and smolder our smoking wood chips. So let me just grab a handful of those, and I want to throw them where the ashes are, since that's where the ashes are landing, where they're going to smolder, so I don't need to put them all over. So I'm just going to put about a handful of smoking wood chips back into our Big Joe 3. Okay, grills are stable at 300. Let's get a ribeye on our Big Joe. We'll do the same thing on our Classic. All right, our steaks have hit their final temperature, especially the one on the Classic. It's about 3 degrees ahead according to the meter app. So I'm gonna get that off, get this resting, and give this one on the Big Joe, I think it is about 1 minute behind according to the meter. We'll let those rest and we'll get ready for our sear. All right, our steaks are off and resting and they look great, but I can already see a slight difference between the two of them. We got our Kamado Joe Classic with wood chunk smoked steak looking a little bit deeper red color, and I was definitely getting more smoke from the Classic with the wood chunks than I was with the Big Joe. And so that prompts a few things I'm curious about. Normally what I would do is I would open the vents right now, let them fly and go into inferno mode, but I think that's gonna bury some of the evidence. I want to take a look at how much smoking wood is remaining in the Classic 3. This is a really short cook. This is only about 40 minutes, and so I'm curious how much wood is maybe left. And likewise on the Big Joe with those wood chips in the ash drawer, I want to see if any or all of those have been consumed. So I'll bring you nice and close, we'll take a look at that. But since that's not going to be our sear, I thought I would take advantage of the residual heat that I've got going on my Keep James Warm solo stove. So I'm just going to drop on the cooking grid and let that cast iron surface come up to temperature so we can get a quick sear on these steaks. And I don't think that'll mess with any of our experiments, as I've done a couple steaks on this before. And seared it, one even on the channel where I cooked it the entire way. So I think that's going to be a fair comparison, and it'll allow us to do a bit of a deep dive on both Kamados and see what happened with our smoking wood theory. So let's come close, start with the Classic, open it up. All right, let's take a look down inside our Classic. First, we'll get rid of our divide and conquer rack and cooking grids, and then the SloRoller. Okay, so we've got a nice hot fire. Let's take a look and see what we can see. And there's absolutely nothing left, and so that's maybe about an hour, including coming up to temperature plus with our cook. And so those two pieces of apple have lasted about an hour. Now again, we're running a higher temperature, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's going to consume that. But if we were doing a brisket, and I've never opened up my brisket and taken it out and removed the SloRoller and started to look, but that's about what we're getting. We're getting about an hour of smoking wood, and from here on out, we're just relying on charcoal. So that is really interesting. Let's go take a look at the Big Joe. Okay, so let's take a look at our Kamado Joe Big Joe, where we've loaded those wood chips into the ash drawer. Pull that out. And that looks like most of those chips are gone. So in both cases, we've used most of all of the wood. The only difference here is that if we wanted to add more, if this is something we were doing longer, we could have easily just sprinkled in a few more. Let's put this back. We'll shut down our Big Joe, get ready to sear off these steaks. All right, and just like that, our sear is done. So let me know before we dig in the comments which one you think will taste better. I'm really curious. I can see a slight difference between our applewood chunk versus our applewood chip smoked steak, but they both look really, really good. Speaking of the comments, that reminds me, for the month of November, I'm doing a giveaway. I'll be giving away a brand new Kamado Joe Kettle Joe, along with those upgraded smokeware side shelves that I love. And all you need to do is turn on that subscribe button and comment on any video I release in the month of November, and you're entered to win. Enter a few more times by adding a few more comments. That's just more ballots for you. So participating right now increases your chances of winning. Check out my contest post for complete rules and regulations. Let's get nice and close, slice these up, and get in for our taste test. Okay, so let's start with our Kamado Joe Classic, which is the applewood chunks. Oh, I love these science experiments. Look at that. This looks like it's going to be great. Let's check out our smoking chips. Oh, equally good. They both look like a nice medium rare. We did these to 117. So let's get a slice off of each one so we can do a taste test. Put a little Malden smoked sea salt on one piece from each side so we can do one with salt, one without. All right, time for the best part of the night. Let's dig in for our taste test. So I'm going to start with what I think is the lighter smoke. I think the chips, just based off of the color and the aroma coming out of the grill, will be the lighter one. I'm worried if I start with what I think will be the stronger one, I'll have a hard time noticing the potentially more subtle smoke difference, but it should be easier if it is stronger, which is what my suspicions are for the smoking wood. So enough about that. Let's start with the non-salted piece here from our wood chips. I could do this one all day long. That's good. Doesn't even need the salt, but I'm going to do it anyway since I got it ready. Let's try that. That's about as good as steak gets. So that is awesome. Really, really awesome. Let's try now our wood chunk piece. Start the same without the salt and go to the salt next. There we go, got my piece. Night and day. Night and day. I don't really like this one. I normally don't like smoking my steaks a bunch, and that's one of the reasons is it's so easy to overdo it. And I think this is already on the line of overdone. We only did 2 chunks, right? 2 small pieces under the coals, everything we can do to burn it nice and hot and clean. And yet this is just way too smoky. My family is not gonna like this one, but in the name of science, let's try the one with the salt. Here we go. So I am really glad we did this experiment for a few reasons. I've just stopped smoking my steaks because they come out like this, and for a family, they don't enjoy that. Smoking is awesome, especially if you're doing things like brisket, ribs, pork that can stand up to it. But if I've made a mistake that causes my family to not like things coming off the grill, it's over smoking. And since the point of barbecue is bringing community and people together, if our food is turning them away, maybe we're doing something wrong. And this one I definitely think is way too high on the smoke scale to appeal to a broad audience. You put 100 people in a room, I think the overwhelming majority are going to pick this one as their hands down favorite. This is awesome because it unlocks a few things for us. One, we're able to now smoke some more things and get away with a gentle, clean smoke. This is as clean and as gentle as it gets. You can tell it's there, but at the same time, it's not just like slapping you across the face and saying, hey, wake up. There's smoke all over this thing. And if we were doing a longer low slow cook, this ash drawer smoking wood chip loading hack, I think would be incredibly useful for continuing those smokes rolling. About every hour, it looks like, is about our fuel efficiency on that smoking wood. So if I was doing brisket, ribs, or things like that, I really wanted to go to town with a smoke, I'd budget about every hour or so to add a few more chips. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and again, I want to thank HelloFresh for sponsoring it, helping replace the kind of the ads that show up in the middle of the video. Be sure to check out the link down below for my my coupon code with HelloFresh and an opportunity to get some of those meals for free. If you enjoyed this video, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe in order to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.